Namaste and welcome. As you would have seen on the title at the beginning there, this talk is called Queen Kunti. So we have an indication there who it's going to be about. But before I start the class, I will offer my obeisances to my spiritual master, Jagat Guru Siddhaswarupananda, to Lord Chaitanya, to Lord Nityananda, and to Sri Krishna himself. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Pastaya Bhutale Srimati Siddhaswarupananda Paramahamsa Iti Namane Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadha Shri Vasudev Gaur Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Bol. So usually the formatting for these talks that I've been doing, I would speak about something and then about halfway through I would read from a Krishna book, a story, or from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Today's class is a bit different. It's going to be all just reading from the first canto of the Srimad Bhagavatam. And it's really this wonderful prayer that Queen Kunti speaks to Krishna. Hence the title of the class tonight, Queen Kunti. But before we begin, let's look at a really short background of who is Queen Kunti. Krishna's father, Vasudeva, had two sisters, Kunti and Shrutasena. And so these were Krishna's aunties, weren't they? Kunti was married to King Pandu, who also had another wife named Madri. Kunti had three sons, Yudhisthira, Arjuna and Bhima. Madra had twin sons, Nakula and Sahadev. When King Pandu died, Madri followed him and Kunti remained and cared for the 5 children, the Pandavas. So that gives you a very short background into Queen Kunti. So now I'm going to read 3 verses, as I said, from the Srimad Bhagavatam, first canto, chapter 8, if you want to look them up. And this is a celebrated prayer of Queen Kunti to Sri Krishna himself. The prayer consists of only 26 verses, but it is considered a philosophical, theological and literary masterpiece. And actually, Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada compiled these verses into a book titled Teachings of Queen Kunti. So if you've seen that book, The Teachings of Queen Kunti, they consist of these 26 verses from the Srimad Bhagavatam. Let's look at verse 21. Krishnaya Vasudevaya Devaki Nandananaya Cha Nandagopa Kumaraya Govindaya Namo Namaha. So I will read now the translation for that verse, and some of it you will be able to recognize in the Sanskrit. So it begins with, "Let me therefore offer my respectful obeisances unto the Lord, who has become the son of Vasudeva, the pleasure of Devaki, the boy of Nanda and the other cowherd men of Vrindavan, and the enlivener of the cows and the senses." So that was a beautiful prayer that she was addressing to Krishna. Wonderful descriptions of Krishna in that prayer. So next in verse 26, Queen Kunti describes the mindset of a person who approaches the spiritual master and Krishna. What is their mindset? Very instructive verse 26. My Lord, your Lordship can easily be approached, but only by those who are materially exhausted. One who is on the path of material progress, trying to improve himself with respectable parentage, great opulence, high education, and bodily beauty, cannot approach you with sincere feeling. So Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada, a number of times I've read where he used that phrase, materially exhausted. Very interesting when you just contemplate on those two words, materially exhausted. So to the degree that we still hold on to desires for obtaining wealth, obtaining beauty, obtaining any kind of opulences here in this material world, obtaining a name, to be known as a great singer, a great musician, a great speaker. To the degree that we still hold on to that desire, to that degree we cannot surrender fully to Krishna. This is very instructive, isn't it? We must be physically, mentally, and emotionally, materially exhausted. We must be burnt out with the material world in order to seriously surrender to our spiritual master and Krishna. So the chanting of Krishna's names, the hearing about Krishna, this is what's bringing us to this point of becoming more and more wanting to surrender, wanting to give it all away. But it's not until we reach that point that we are materially exhausted can we fully surrender to our spiritual master, fully surrender to Krishna. Just that one verse that she spoke is so instructive to us right now today, isn't it? So for the third verse, it's going to be verse 31, and I'm also going to be reading the purport to this verse. You know, all these verses in the Srimad Bhagavatam, the Krishna book, the Bhagavad Gita, and so on, all these verses and the purports that have been written by the great saintly people, they're compared to diamonds. Every single verse and every single purport is of such great value. But to the degree that we're distracted by our material desires, to the degree that we're covered over, we will look at them as being made of glass. And there's a really big difference between glass and diamonds, isn't there? Glass just shatters like that, where diamonds are very strong and diamonds are very beautiful. So when we're listening to these verses, and when we're listening now to the purport that's going to accompany this verse, we try to open up our ears, we try to open up our hearts. And this particular verse that I chose, verse 31, in it, Queen Kunti is describing Krishna, one of his pastimes when he was a little boy with his mother Yasoda. And even before we get into this verse, if you just stop and you consider, here we are willingly going to and enthusiastically going to listen to a verse that describes the Supreme Person as a naughty boy. How fortunate are we that we can actually do this. We can actually sit there and listen to this and become absorbed in it, become excited by it, be delighted by Krishna's pastime as a little boy. If a lot of people, if they came and they said to you, well, who is God? Describe God. And you said to them, well, he's a naughty boy. He's a naughty little boy who likes to steal butter and yogurt and share it with the monkeys. They would look at you as if you're mad. But fortunately, for some reason or other, we are able to hear these pastimes of Krishna and just our hearts are delighted. So now Queen Kunti is going to speak this one verse about, because she's speaking to Krishna, but she's going to be speaking about his pastime when he was young. So let's now just listen and relax as we listen. My dear Krishna, Yasoda took up a rope to bind you when you committed an offence, and your perturbed eyes over-flooded with tears, which washed the mascara from your eyes. And you were afraid, though fear personified is afraid of you. This sight is bewildering to me. So there's Queen Kunti, and she's saying, oh, this is really bewildering that you were actually afraid because he's the Supreme Lord. So here's the wonderful purport that Srila Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupada wrote. Here is a specific example of the Lord's being the Supreme and at the same time a plaything in the presence of his pure devotees. The Lord's pure devotee renders service unto the Lord out of unalloyed love only. Unalloyed, pure love only. And while discharging such devotional service, the pure devotee forgets the position of the Supreme Lord. The Supreme Lord also accepts the loving service of his devotees more relishable when the service is rendered spontaneously out of pure affection, without anything of reverential admiration. Wow, there's a lot of words in there. Krishna accepts the loving service as being more relishable when the devotee renders it spontaneously and there's no awe and reverence there. The Lord's pastimes in the original abode of Goloka Vrindavan are exchanged in that spirit. The friends of Krishna consider him one of them. They do not consider him to be of reverential importance. The parents of the Lord, who are all pure devotees, consider him a child only. The Lord accepts the chastisements of the parents more cheerfully than the prayers of the Vedic hymns. Oh wow, so the beautiful Vedic hymns, so poetic and spoken from the heart. But Krishna prefers, he gets cheerful is the word used when he's chastised by his parents. Similarly, he accepts the reproaches of his gopis more palatably than the Vedic hymns. When Lord Krishna was present in this material world to manifest his eternal pastimes of the transcendental realm of Goloka Vrindavan as an attraction for the people in general, that's us, so we become attracted. He displayed a unique picture of subordination before his foster mother, Yasoda. A unique picture, this unique pastime happening between his foster mother, Yasoda, and him as a little boy. The Lord, in his naturally childish, playful activities, used to spoil the stocked butter of Mother Yasoda by breaking the pots and distributing the contents to his friends and playmates, including the celebrated monkeys of Vrindavan, who took advantage of the Lord's munificence. Mother Yasoda saw this, and out of her pure love, she wanted to make a show of punishment for her transcendental child. She took a rope and threatened the Lord that she would tie him up, as is generally done in the ordinary household. Seeing the rope in the hands of Mother Yasoda, the Lord bowed down his head and began to weep just like a child. And tears rolled down his cheeks, washing off the black ointment smeared about his beautiful eyes. You know, it's very traditional, and even today, they put the black ointment under the eyes of the child and even at the top. And the purpose of this was it kept, you know, the flies coming near their eyes and insects coming near their eyes, which are very prevalent in the hot countries. But actually, Krishna just looks even more beautiful, doesn't he, with his black ointment on his eyes. So the ointment starts to run down his cheeks as he's crying. Wouldn't that be extraordinarily beautiful to see little boy Krishna crying like that? This picture of the Lord is adored by Kunti because she is conscious of the Lord's supreme position. He is feared often by feared personified, yet he is afraid of his own mother, who wanted to punish him just in an ordinary manner. Queen Kunti was conscious of the exalted position of Krishna, whereas Yasoda was not. Therefore, Yasoda's position was more exalted than Queen Kunti's. Mother Yasoda got the Lord as her child, and the Lord made her forget altogether that her child was the Lord himself. If Mother Yasoda had been conscious of the exalted position of the Lord, she would certainly have hesitated to punish the Lord. Of course, if Mother Yasoda, Nanda Maharaj, they're aware, oh my gosh, this is the Supreme Lord, they would just be afraid to say or do anything with him. So Krishna just covers that over, and they relate to him in that very wonderful parental manner. But Yasoda was made to forget this situation because the Lord wanted to make a complete gesture of childishness before the affectionate Yasoda. This exchange of love between the mother and the son was performed in a natural way. And Kunti, remembering the scene, was bewildered, and she could do nothing but praise the transcendental maternal love. Indirectly, Mother Yasoda is praised for her unique position of love, for she could control even the all-powerful Lord as her beloved child. So she could control the Supreme Person just with love. So we are very fortunate to be able to, even those couple of verses and that verse 31, talking about Krishna, the naughty little boy Krishna. So we should always thank our spiritual master and thank Krishna that we're able to listen and read these wonderful pastimes of Krishna as a naughty boy. So all glories to Sri Radha and Krishna. And thank you very much for listening. Namaste.
Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Sira Swarupananda Paramahamsa Iti Namine
Namo Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Sira Swarupananda Paramahamsa Iti Namine
Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Pristayate
Namo Siddha Swarupananda Paramahamsa Namine Gora Karuna Swarupaya Radha Krishna Pristayate
Bhaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktavrinda
Bhaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shri Vasya Gaur Bhakta Vrinda
Bhaja Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasudeva Gaur Bhaktavrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare Hare Rama Rama Rama